Today, I want to talk about something that I get asked about all the time in my practice, and it's something that can be really confusing and frustrating for families. We're going to dive into motor loops. Now, if you've never heard of this term before, don't worry. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what they are, why they happen, and most importantly, what you can do about them. And I promise this isn't going to be one of those videos where I just tell you what not to do without giving you real solutions. We're going to get very practical. And stay with me until the end because not all motor loops should be stopped, and I'm going to tell you why. Hi, I'm Dr. Dana Johnson, an occupational therapist with over 20 years of experience working with autistic individuals and their families. I hold a PhD in child mental health and development and have advanced training in functional and nutritional medicine. I've seen firsthand how often my clients get stuck in motor loops, and that can be super dysregulating for both parents and their kids. My hope is that this information can ease some of that stress. Now, if you would like more information on motor loops or whole body apraxia, be sure to check out my website, drdanajohnson.com. Okay, so first things first, what exactly is a motor loop? Well, to understand motor loops, we need to first talk about how our brains work when we learn movements. When we practice something over and over again, our brain is incredibly efficient. It takes that movement and turns it into something automatic. It moves from the part of our brain that consciously thinks about every single step to a part that's still processing and still thinking in a way, but we're not consciously aware of it anymore. Think about it this way. When you walk from your car to your house carrying grocery bags, are you thinking, okay, left foot, right foot, bend your knee, shift your weight? Of course not. You're probably thinking about what you're going to make for dinner, or that text that you need to send, or wondering if you actually remembered to buy milk. Your brain has automated that walking part so that you can focus on other intentional movements and thoughts at the same time. Now, this is actually amazing. It would be completely overwhelming if we had to consciously think about every single movement our body makes. We would never get anything done. But here's where it gets complicated for individuals with whole body apraxia. Their bodies just don't work the same way. They might be more impulsive, especially when they're feeling anxious or when they experience something unexpected in their sensory world. And when this happens, they can engage in what we call a motor loop. Now, a motor loop is something that has been practiced and has become automatic, but here's the key difference. It's not intentional, and they don't necessarily want to do it. Now, can you imagine how frustrating that would be? Your body is doing or saying something that you didn't choose, and you might not even want to be doing it, but you can't stop. So let me give you some real life examples that I see all the time in my practice. Some loops include asking questions like, what time is it? Or Chick-fil-A over and over and over again. Or sometimes saying, time to go home, the second they walk into their therapy session, even though they might actually be happy to be there. Others include picking up mom's purse repeatedly to signal they want to leave, even when leaving isn't actually what they want to do. And here's the tricky part. Sometimes these actions are intentional, but when they're repeated in that automatic, stuck way, that's when we recognize it as a motor loop. And it can be extremely frustrating for everyone involved, both the individual and their caregiver. So naturally, the next question would be, well, how did these motor loops develop in the first place? And if they're so frustrating, why do they happen? Here's the thing. Motor loops happen when movements or phrases are practiced over and over again. And I know that sounds confusing because I talk about all the time that we want to practice movements repeatedly to build motor plans. But these movements aren't purposeful. When they're not connected to intentional communication or action, they too can become permanent. And here's what makes this so tricky for parents and caregivers. Often a motor loop starts with something that we think is actually good. Now, let me explain what I mean. Take speech, for example. Of course, we want non-speakers to develop speech if they can. Communication is so important. But when someone practices saying the same thing over and over and over again without it being connected to purposeful communication, it can become a motor loop. The phrase becomes automatic, completely separate from meaning or intention. And the really challenging part is that the motor loops are often encouraged without parents even realizing it's happening. Now, you're not doing anything wrong. You're actually trying to be responsive and supportive. But here's how it works. Let's say that your child asks, "Is it time to go?" You naturally answer them because that's what you're supposed to do. They ask again, and you answer again. Or they pick up your purse, and you respond to that action. Every single time that you respond, you close that loop. You're actually reinforcing the motor pattern. It's becoming more and more automatic, and unfortunately, more and more stuck. Now, it's kind of like when you learn a song and then you can't get it out of your head. Your brain has practiced it so much that it keeps playing on repeat, whether you want it to or not. Except imagine that happening with your body's movements or your spoken words, and you'll start to understand how challenging this is for individuals with whole body apraxia. The more the loop is practiced, the more automatic it becomes. And the more automatic it becomes, the harder it is to break free from it. It's a cycle that can feel really overwhelming. Now, here's where things can get even more challenging, and this is really important for everyone to understand. While motor loops can be incredibly frustrating for my clients and their families, they can also be regulating. What? And honestly, that's the hardest part of all of this. Now, let me paint a picture for you. Due to whole body apraxia, a client might want to say something specific, but the wrong thing comes out. Or here's what's even more challenging. They may not want to say anything at all, but their mouth just starts talking anyways. They're not in control of it. Then you, as a parent or caregiver, naturally respond to them because you're being an attentive and caring parent. But the cycle then starts again. So you might be thinking, okay, well, then I'll just stop answering. I'll stop responding and that will break the loop, right? And I totally understand that logic, but just pause because it's not that simple. Motor loops can actually be regulating for the individual. Think about it. Scripting something familiar can actually provide a sense of comfort and regulation. Hearing their mom's voice respond to what they say might be deeply regulating for them. Playing that same YouTube video over and over and over again, even if it drives you absolutely bonkers, might be what helps them feel calm and organized in their body. So we can't just suddenly stop responding or take the iPad away without considering what we're actually doing, because this can be very dysregulating. It can actually make things worse and not better. We could be removing the very thing that helps them feel safe and regulated in their body. So we're caught in this really challenging place. On one hand, we don't want to reinforce that motor loop and make it stronger. But on the other hand, we don't want to take away something that's providing genuine regulation and comfort. It's a delicate balance, and honestly, there usually isn't just one simple answer. This is where I see a lot of parents feeling stuck and frustrated, and I totally get it. You want to help your child, but every option seems to have a downside. You feel like you're in a no-win situation. But here's the good news. There are things that you can do. It's about finding that balance and being really thoughtful about your approach. First, if your child is stuck in a loop, especially a verbal loop where they're asking the same question over and over, here's what I want you to try. Identify it as a loop out loud to them. Answer their question once clearly and calmly, and then say something like, "I think this is a loop, so I'm going to help you get out of it." Now, once your child knows that you recognize what's happening and that you're there to help them, not judge them or get frustrated with them, things often settle. They feel supported and understood instead of stuck. Now, here's the most important thing that you can do, and that is to get their body to do something intentional. This is the key. Have them help you carry a bag or backpack somewhere. Ask them to bring something from the bedroom to the kitchen, or even if you don't actually need them to do that. The specific task doesn't really matter as much as the fact that you're getting their body to do something purposeful and intentional. Now, don't forget to motor coach their body so that they can work through each step of that purposeful movement. And by getting their body engaged in an intentional movement, they can't be stuck in that impulsive loop at the same time. The intentional action interrupts the automatic pattern, and this can really help break that loop and get them back into their body in a purposeful way. Here's another strategy that works beautifully, especially for verbal loops that you just can't can't seem to get out of. Try writing your response down. Now, so many non-speakers and unreliable speakers can read, even if their spoken communication is limited. By writing down your response, you're still responding, which maintains that connection and regulation that they need, but you're responding differently. That difference can be enough to interrupt that automatic pattern. Think of it like when your GPS suddenly changes the route. Your brain was on autopilot following one path, but the change you made actively engages you and makes you think again. That's what we're doing here. We're not abandoning them in the loop, but we're introducing something that requires active processing. And here's something else that I want you to keep in mind. When you're working on breaking these loops, be patient with yourself and with your child. This isn't going to change overnight. Motor loops develop through lots and lots and lots of repetition, and they're going to take time and consistency to change. Some days will be better than others, and that's typical. So here's what I really want you to take away from this video. What your child is saying or doing may not be intentional. It's so important to remember this. It may be a motor loop that they've practiced so many times that it's now automatic and outside of their conscious control. They're not trying to frustrate you. They're not being difficult on purpose. Their body is stuck in a pattern that they didn't choose. The best thing that you can do is work on helping their body to be more intentional and purposeful. Because here's the thing that I see every single day in my practice. My clients, have so much more that they want to say and do. There's so much going on inside that they're trying to express and trying to engage with in the world. When we can help break these motor loops and support more intentional movement and communication, we're not just stopping something that may be frustrating. We're supporting regulation and retraining the body to be able to engage in things that they want to do. So be patient, be consistent, and remember, you're helping them find their way out of patterns that they didn't choose. You've got this. If this video changed the way that you think about your child or the individuals that you work with, let me know in the comments. Also, share if any of these strategies have worked for you, or if you have strategies that have been successful. Please share them. Let's build the community together. And don't forget to subscribe and share with other parents and professionals who need to hear more about motor loops. Thank you, and I will see you on the next video.